Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club. But I'm going to do it anyway. Sue me. Fight Club is about a depressed and nameless narrator who is trapped in a life of corporate monotony, numbing himself with consumerism and self-help groups. Then he meets Tyler Durden. Tyler is everything the narrator is not: confident, rebellious, and destructive. But most importantly, free. He lives in a ruined house where he makes soap and rejects modern comfort. He tears down the narrator's world and drags him into a life of anti-capitalist rebellion. And best of all, he creates Fight Club, a place where shirtless men meet in basements and beat each other bloody just to feel alive again. At first, it feels like liberation, but Fight Club keeps growing. It spreads across the country and mutates into Project Mayhem, a cult-like terrorist organization movement built on Tyler's anti-establishment philosophy. Meanwhile, the narrator becomes more and more confused. Tyler disappears for days, and people seems to obey orders the narrator never remembers giving. And then the truth is revealed. Tyler Durden isn't real. He's a manifestation of the narrator's deepest desires, his rejection of a meaningless, consumer-driven existence. He created him as an alter ego, everything he wished he could be, split off from himself and given a name, a body, and a mission. Every conversation with Tyler was really just the narrator talking to himself. Every plan Tyler made was his own plan. Every time Tyler disappeared, the narrator was becoming him. And ever since he appeared, Tyler has been in control. When the truth is revealed, the narrator tries to stop him, but it's too late. The plan is already in motion. The narrator fights back, trying to reclaim his own mind. He shoots himself, symbolically killing his alter ego. And yet, the bombs go off, the financial system collapses, and the narrator, no longer trapped in his hollow life, stands reborn. The Usual Suspects. The Usual Suspects is basically a movie about a man sitting in a police station, telling a story. And somehow, that story becomes one of the most famous twists in movie history. The man is Verbal Kint, a small-time criminal with a limp, who survives a massacre on a ship. The police bring him in, and he starts explaining how he and a group of criminals were pulled into a job involving the legendary crime lord, Kaiser Söze. And Kaiser Söze is as much myth as he is a man. His very name strikes fear into the hearts of those who hear it, and his legend is built on stories of unimaginable ruthlessness. According to Verbal, Söze was so ruthless that when his enemies threatened his family, he killed his own wife and children himself, just to prove that nothing could be used against him. To most of the criminal underworld, he is a fearsome urban legend, with most unsure whether he truly exists. For most of the movie, we listen as Verbal talks and talks and talks. He talks about the other criminals, the job, the boat, the betrayal, and the terrifying shadow of Kaiser Söze hanging over everything. The police think they have broken this meek man, and we, the audience, think we are finally learning the truth. But after Verbal leaves the station, the detective looks around the room, and then he starts noticing things. Names from Verbal's story are on the bulletin board. The name Kobayashi came from the bottom of a coffee mug. Verbal has been improvising the entire story right in front of the officer. Then we cut outside. As Verbal walks away, the limp disappears. And it is revealed that the man we thought was the weakest person in the room has orchestrated the entire plot. Verbal Kint was Kaiser Söze all along, masterfully killing off his fellow criminals, hiding in plain sight. In the closing moment of the film, he repeats his quote from earlier. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And just like that, Kaiser Söze is gone. The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense is a movie about a child psychologist, Malcolm Crowe, trying to help a young boy named Cole, who claims he can see dead people. Cole is terrified and constantly haunted by ghosts who do not understand they are dead. Malcolm believes that if he can help Cole, he might also redeem himself from a past failure, a former patient who broke into his home and shot him in the opening scene. After that attack, the movie jumps forward. Malcolm seems to have survived, but his life is in shambles. His wife seems angry at him, and their marriage suddenly seems cold and distant. He follows her around, while she seemingly ignores him, and he assumes that she has emotionally shut him out. Meanwhile, Cole slowly learns that the ghosts are not trying to hurt him. They need help. They have unfinished business. And Malcolm helps Cole understand that his curse might actually be a way to give the dead peace. And as Malcolm helps Cole, Cole also helps Malcolm. He tells him to try speaking to his wife while she sleeps, to tell her what he needs to say. So Malcolm goes home. His wife is asleep on the couch, sadly proclaiming that she misses him as she drops his wedding ring. Malcolm looks down at his own hand. His ring is gone. And suddenly, the entire movie snaps into place. Malcolm has been dead the whole time. He didn't survive the attack, and his wife was not ignoring him. She could not see him. No one could, except Cole. And the genius of the twist is that the movie told you the rules early. When Cole tells Malcolm that he sees dead people and they don't know they're dead, Malcolm was the key example. Once you know, the entire movie rewrites itself in your head. Every awkward silence and every unanswered conversation, every moment where Malcolm seems disconnected from the world, it all suddenly makes sense. Malcolm finally accepts what happened. He tells Anna that she was never second to anything, that he loves her, and that he only stayed because he had to help someone. Anna's face relaxes, as if some part of her can finally let him go. And then Malcolm moves on. Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock's iconic horror movie, Psycho, is famous for having two major plot twists. For the first half of the movie, Marion Crane is the main character. She is played by Janet Leigh, the biggest star in the film, and the story follows her as she steals $40,000 from her employer and runs away, hoping to start a new life with her boyfriend. Then, Marion stops at the Bates Motel. The motel is run by Norman Bates, a shy, awkward young man who lives in the creepy house on the hill with his domineering mother. Norman seems strange, but harmless. A little too into taxidermy, perhaps. But hey, we all need hobbies. Nonetheless, he invites her to dinner with him in the motel's office. And when he goes to retrieve the food, she overhears him arguing with his mother about his desire to dine with Marion. After the awkward dinner, Marion takes a shower. And then, the movie proceeds to murder its apparent protagonist halfway through. A shadowy old woman pulls back the curtain and stabs her to death, in one of the most famous scenes in cinema history. After that, Norman discovers the body and in a panic, cleans the room, wraps Marion in the shower curtains, puts her in her car and sinks it in the swamp, seemingly protecting his murderous mother. But the second twist is much worse. Mother is dead, and has been dead for years. Norman killed her and her lover. He then preserved her corpse and began speaking as her in his own mind. Whenever Norman felt desire, the mother personality took over. Mother is just a corpse sitting in a chair, and yet the dead woman is still controlling Norman. So the murder silhouette was never Mother, it was Norman. And by the end, Norman's own personality is almost gone. Mother has taken over completely, and of course, she wouldn't even hurt a fly. The Shawshank Redemption. This is arguably the best movie of all time, and it also contains one of the most satisfying twists in movie history. The movie follows Andy Dufresne, a banker sentenced to life in Shawshank prison for murdering his wife and her lover, a crime he insists he did not commit. Inside Shawshank, Andy seems quiet, patient, almost impossible to break. He befriends Red, builds the prison library, helps the guards with their taxes, and eventually becomes useful to the corrupt warden, laundering his bribes and kickbacks. He becomes so useful, in fact, that when evidence appears that could prove Andy's innocence, Norton has it buried. Literally. After that, Andy seems completely defeated, and yet, one morning, the guards find his cell empty. The warden panics. He storms into Andy's cell, and in a tantrum, throws one of Andy's rocks at the giant poster on the wall. And the rock goes right through it. Mesmerized, Norton walks closer, tears through the poster, and reveals a tunnel. Andy has spent years digging through the wall with a tiny rock hammer, hiding the hole behind posters, and carrying the dirt out into the prison yard, handful by handful. While everyone thought he was quietly surviving Shawshank, he was building his escape. That night, he crawled through the tunnel, through 500 yards of sewage, and came out clean in the rain. Then, he takes the warden's hidden money, exposes his corruption to the authorities, and buggers off to Mexico. And the warden, facing arrest, takes the coward's way out. The Prestige. Set in the smoky theaters of Victorian London, The Prestige follows two magicians, Alfred Borden and Robert Angier, locked in a rivalry that consumes their lives and corrodes their very humanity. Borden is a working-class prodigy, a man who understands that real magic is built on pain and sacrifice. Angier, on the other hand, is everything Borden is not, elegant and charismatic. But he lacks the one thing Borden has, resolve. They begin as partners, but when a stage illusion goes horribly wrong and Angier's wife drowns in a water tank, their bond shatters. Blame turns into obsession, and soon their rivalry spirals into a brutal game of one-upmanship, where every performance becomes a battlefield and every new trick is a weapon. The rivalry centers around one illusion, the transported man. To the audience, and to Angier, Borden's trick is flawless. Borden can seemingly teleport himself to the other side of the stage instantly, and Angier becomes obsessed with uncovering its secret. But Angier doesn't want to understand the trick, he just wants to beat it. Desperate to compete, he turns to Nikola Tesla, who builds him a machine that creates perfect duplicates of Angier. Every night, one Angier reappears to thunderous applause, and another sinks into a water tank underneath the stage, drowning in the dark. He never knows which one he will be. He only knows that the show must go on. Angier uses this to fake his own death and frames Borden for the crime. And only at the end, before Borden's execution, is the brutal twist revealed. The secret to the trick is a twin. Two brothers living a single life, sharing one name, one love, one identity. Sacrificing wholeness for perfection. They truly live and breathe for the trick. Their entire existence is the trick. And in the end, everyone loses. One of the Bordens is hanged for the crime, while the other shoots Angier. And so, one of the Bordens walks away, but only half of himself remains alive. Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. This one is so iconic that even people who don't care about Star Wars know it. But when The Empire Strikes Back came out, it was a massive revelation, and probably the greatest retcon of all times. In the first movie, Luke Skywalker believes his father was a noble Jedi Knight, betrayed and murdered by Darth Vader, the black-armored monster serving the Empire. That is the story Luke and the audience has been given. Then, in Empire, Luke leaves his training with Yoda to save his friends and confronts Vader in Cloud City. And Vader destroys him. He cuts off Luke's hand and corners him over a massive drop. Luke is beaten and hanging over the abyss. He clings to the metal beam and to the one thing he thinks he knows. Vader killed his father. So, when Vader says that Obi-Wan never told him the truth, Luke snaps back. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. And then Vader answers, no, I am your father. And in cinemas across the world, the crowd went wild. But for Luke, that line is a catastrophe. The monster he hates is not the man who killed his father. The monster is his father, and the story changes completely. Now, it is about inheritance and redemption. Can Luke become a Jedi without becoming his father? Can the son save the man everyone else believes is already lost? It's pretty great, actually. Oldboy. 15 years. That's how long Dae-su is imprisoned without explanation. His wife is murdered, and his daughter disappears, and he is framed for it all. Then, one day, the cage is opened, and the man who has him released has great plans for him. Dae-su follows the clues, desperate to find out who destroyed his life and why. Along the way, he meets Mido, a kind young woman who becomes his only comfort in the world. And they, of course, fall in love. But all is not well, because the man who had him imprisoned, Lee Woo-jin, reveals one of the most disturbing twists in cinema. Mi-do is Dae-su's daughter, and Lee Woo-jin has orchestrated everything. Their meeting, their intimacy, their trust. Decades ago, Dae-su saw a boy and a girl making out at school. He didn't know they were siblings. He made an offhand remark to someone and then immediately left the city. The rumors spread and twisted until Woo-jin's sister, believing herself ruined, took her own life. Now, Lee Woo-jin has repaid the debt, and Dae-su crumbles. He begs, grovels, and even slices out his own tongue in desperation. With his revenge complete, and yet still haunted by visions of his sister, Lee Woo-jin ends his own life. And Dae-su undergoes hypnosis to forget. He smiles in Mi-do's arms, until his face contorts, twisted with something unspoken, because even if his mind forgets, some part of him will always know. So, that was it. Let me know in the comments which plot twist you think is the greatest of all time, and why. Click on my head to subscribe for more videos, or click on the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.